The best graphics cards in 2020. The best graphics card to jam into your gaming PC inevitably means different things to different people. At its most basic, it's all about how much spare cash you can afford to blow on a new GPU. The equation is pretty simple. The more money you spend on a new graphics card, the more gaming performance you'll be able to squeeze out of it. But you're always talking in diminishing returns for your investment when you get above a certain level. The NVIDIA RTX 2080 Ti is hands down the fastest graphics card you can buy, but its $1,000 plus sticker price will only net you around 20% higher performance than the RTX 2080 Super. Despite a more than 50% price increase over that GPU, though, if money really is no object, and you've never had to even consider the price of your next graphics card purchase, then the 2080 Ti is absolutely the best graphics card. Most of us, we have to be a little more parsimonious about our PC upgrades, however, and the price-performance ratio of a new GPU is really the vital question we need to be asking. Thankfully, there are some fantastic graphics cards that won't decimate your bank balance, and will still offer more frames per second than a speedrun of the Louvre. And there are a host of great value GPUs too, whether you're after a quality 1080p graphics card, or something that will smash 1440p gaming at the highest settings. We've tested all the current generation graphics cards from both NVIDIA and AMD, and have ranked our picks for the best graphics card in descending order, with the most powerful at the top, and the best value budget but bringing up the rear. Number 1. NVIDIA GeForce RTX 2080 Ti. The most powerful graphics card a lot of money can buy. Released way back in 2018, the RTX 2080 Ti is still the fastest consumer graphics card that you can stick into your gaming PC. If you wanted to go all out, you could squeeze a Titan RTX in there for the full-fat TU102 grams PU, but that will net you an even less of a performance return for the extra $1,300 you'd have to spend for the privilege. With 11 GB of speedy GDDR6 memory strapped to the board, 68 RT cores, and 43 52 CUDA cores all baked into the GPU, the top RTX touring card is ready for pretty much anything PC gaming can throw at it. Though even the RTX 2080 Ti will struggle to nail 4K gaming with your graphics settings dialed up to max and ray tracing turned on. It really is that demanding. But the power of NVIDIA's new DLSS 2.0, an update to its AI-based upscaling feature, means that you can run games at a lower rendering resolution but upscale automatically to your screen's native resolution. That nets you better performance, and now with barely any noticeable sacrifice in terms of visual fidelity. Basically, it makes the burden of ray tracing far less onerous. In GeForce terms then, if you're after the most powerful GPU, especially for the burgeoning ray tracing ecosystem, this is the best graphics card around. It's just that it's a really tough GPU to recommend for most people when you could buy a pretty decent pre-built gaming PC for that much cash. The value proposition then is pretty much non-existent, making the RTX 2080 Ti the current definition of a money-no-object GPU. Number 2. NVIDIA GeForce RTX 2070 Super. The best 4K graphics card. The best 4K graphics card. The RTX 2070 Super is the fourth-tier Turing card in the current, incredibly packed NVIDIA GPU stack, but for our money it's the card we'd be happy recommending to people building a 4K gaming PC. It's essentially a better version of the GTX 1080 Ti from the last generation, for less cash and with more future-proofing potential. It's also incredibly close to the performance of the far more expensive RTX 2080, mostly owing to the fact that it's rocking the same Turing 2104 grams PU at its heart. That makes it an entirely different card to the standard RTX 2070 and much better for it. The Super is therefore essentially an RTX 2080 Lite. The RTX 2080 and RTX 2080 Super are both faster graphics cards. But unless you can find one for near the $500 sticker price of the RTX 2070 Super, I couldn't recommend them to anyone with a passing interest in their continued financial stability. The extra $200 they demand on top of the RTX 2070 Super price simply doesn't deliver enough extra performance, even at 4K, to make either a must-have upgrade. And the fact that the RTX 2070 Super can nail impressive 4K gaming performance on high system settings makes it a great value high-end GPU, and one of our current favorites. Sure, you're not going hit 60 FPS on ultra super mega settings every time, but you will still be able to pay the rent and game at 4K. Number 3. AMD Radeon RX 5700. The best 1440p graphics card with a little work. I love AMD's RX 5700. The Navi architecture, with its new, gaming-focused Rhodna core, has delivered Team Radeon a GPU generation that can genuinely compete with NVIDIA's graphics cards, and not just on a cost basis. And it's the first time that has happened in a long while. While we wait for the oft-rumored big Navi cards to arrive, the RX 5700 series, which also includes the more expensive RX 5700 XT, are the top of the GPU stack for AMD. But, as is often the way with Radeon cards, it's the lower cost option which is the one we recommend. In truth, it's not far off the performance of the XT card out of the box. But with the hard limit on its clock speeds, AMD has deliberately hobbled the standard RX 5700 so it doesn't show the top card up. The difference in Rhodna core count doesn't actually make a lot of difference when it comes to gaming performance, it's the GPU frequency that matters. But because of AMD's artificial limits, you need to unlock the RX 5700 with a handy bit of software, Google the Moray Power Tool, to be able to run them at the same clock speeds. And then it performs just as well as its more expensive sibling, outperforming the RTX 2060 Super and delivering excellent 1440p gaming performance. There were some issues with AMD's Navi drivers early on, however. I was lucky enough, having regularly used one since launch, not to actually suffer, and those issues have mostly been squashed now with a recent AMD driver update, making the RX 5700 one of the best graphics cards around right now. Number 4. AMD Radeon RX 5600 XT. The best 1080p graphics card. This is exactly what AMD set out to create, the best graphics card for 1080p gaming. Though its final form isn't exactly what the Red Team set out to create. A last-minute firmware update bumped up the clock speed and memory performance of most RX 5600 XT cards, mainly because NVIDIA chose that time to drop the price of its AUG RTX 2060 down to $300. And without that, the RX 5600 XT would have been effectively DOA. That most RX 5600 XT cards fit is important when it comes to picking which of the manufacturer's cards to go for, however, as not all GPUs received the upgrade to both clock speed and memory performance. It's worth checking the download section for any card you like the look of to see if it's had the BIOS update to 14 Gbps and higher GPU frequencies before you spend your money. But with the update, the RX 5600 XT is incredibly close to the performance of the RTX 2060, making it more of a tricky decision as to which card to go for. That's made harder when factory overclocked versions of both GPUs are on sale for prices well north of $300, which then gets you into RX 5700 territory. When you can pick up an RX 5600 XT for its original, sub-$300 price tag, however, it becomes the one to go for. AMD's Navi XPUs have made a real impression on the market, and it's going to be exciting to see what the higher spec Radeon graphics cards can deliver later in the year. Yet there is still a case to be made for NVIDIA's GTX 1660 Super. If you really can't spend more than $250, that will normally put the RX 5600 XT out of reach, but the GTX Turing card is great value and can still deliver great 1080p performance, though not quite at the same level as this AMD card. Number 5. NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1650 Super. The best cheap graphics card. NVIDIA's GTX 1650 Super is empirically the best value graphics card on the market today. That's if you take a straight cost performance look at its 3D Mark x SPI score as an industry-recognized benchmark of gaming prowess. Often for less than $200 you're looking at a graphics card able to deliver impressive 1080p frame rates at even the highest in-game settings. It's even surprisingly capable at 1440p too. Though you'll definitely need to knock back some of the more demanding fidelity options in order to achieve a silicon-smooth gaming experience at that heady resolution. As has become a familiar refrain with regards to NVIDIA's deployment of the Super series of GPU updates, the GTX 1650 Super is more a GTX 1660-like than it is a GTX 1650. It uses the same 211 6-grams PU as the rest of the GTX 1660 cards, but there are already 3 of them and it's confusing enough already sorting between those. With a switch-in GPS, the GTX 1650 Super has more cores than the straight GTX 1650, and it comes with GDDR6, something the standard card has only received recently. That all makes it a far superior card to its GTX 1650 brethren and mighty close to the GTX 1660 on the Turing Performance Totem Pole. Despite the fact its ultra-competitive original $160 price tag is currently hard to find, its relative pricing still makes the competing AMD RX 5500 XT look expensive.